Hi everyone, I'm Duncan Gilman, the Dean of Students for Splash Media U. I'm actually very excited to join you today in what is going to be our first combined broadcast of our weekly live show with Social Currency, which is our audio podcast. So I'm very excited to bring you the two of those together. And as you may see if you're joining us live via YouTube or Google+, we're going to iron out a couple of little rough spots before we finally smooth everything out. Of course, if you're joining us after the fact on our podcast, great to have you listen and follow along. Feel free to submit your questions to us, and more about that in a little bit. But what we're going to do in this combined show, instead of just bringing you on the social currency side things that are up to date in social media, which of course is very important, or instead of bringing you the same weekly orientation every week, which is also important, we're going to give you something that is more user-directed. So instead of me telling you what you should know, or telling you the same thing week after week, I'm going to tell you what you want to know. We have the advantage of having students actually ask us questions about social media and how they should use social media. So with this combined show, what we're going to do is actually answer student questions on a weekly basis. And of course, we'll pick ones that are broad enough to make sense for a lot of users who are outside our just our enrolled students, but who are trying to use social media in ways that bring success and revenue and awareness for their businesses and for their personal use. So we want to reach out beyond our student body, but we have this great base of students wanting to know about social media. So we're going to use their questions as our starting point and go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to dive right into our questions. We have some great questions this week from some of our students. We had one from Tammy about separating out YouTube and Google. For those of you who don't know, YouTube is owned by Google. And now that YouTube is very integrated with the way Google Plus works, it's easier to actually add admins and separate those out, but it makes more sense in how you're doing it, but it's a little bit complicated. So I should preface it by not saying that it's easy. It is a little bit complicated, but like Facebook, it makes a little bit more sense in terms of designating admins. So what you can do with your YouTube channel related to your Google Plus page, or with your Gmail, or however you have it connected, is you can set up multiple admins for that channel. That way you don't have to rely on one password that everybody has to use to log in. That's the difference, one of the main differences between a platform like Facebook, a platform like Twitter. That Facebook, you can have multiple admins all logging in with their personal information. You don't have to worry about giving out one password that everybody shares. Everybody logs in with their own password. That's different than Twitter, where it's one account, one password, and if you want multiple people to have access to it, you have to either have everybody log in with that same password. There are other ways that help that. If you have a third-party publishing app, a Hootsuite type program, you can have people assigned to different tasks and have them log in that way. But YouTube actually works now more like Facebook does, wherein if you have multiple people who you want to have as admins for your channel, you can designate them through Google. So you can designate them through their Gmail address, through their Google Plus account, and have them be admins for your YouTube account. So to come back to Tammy's question, if you need to separate YouTube and Google, the best way to do that is to manage the admins. So if you need to, you may have to end up creating a new admin, someone totally different, add them as an admin on the YouTube channel and take someone else off. So that may be what you have to do in the end. But the best way, again, to separate those out is to just manage the admins so that you're in control of who has access to the channel at any given time. I'm going to go now to a couple of blogging questions from a VJ. VJ asks, one of his questions is about topics. Can you randomly talk about whatever you want on a blog? And the answer is yes, you can. How will that affect your SEO? If you talk about completely random topics with nothing to tie them together, especially on a business blog, that will hurt your SEO and will hurt your customer traffic. Because you have to make it clear to readers and to search engines what it is you're talking about. You have to give them some kind of context for your content. Otherwise, they're not going to necessarily have a reason to come back to you, because when they come back, it's going to be something totally different. I mean, even a site, think about this, even a site like BuzzFeed, which seems like it takes a whole bunch of random topics and brings them together, there are still themes that go through the site. There are themes of internet distractions and top numbered lists, pop culture. There are these themes and topics and categories that bring things together, even on a site like BuzzFeed, which takes what seems like random topics. But it is especially important on a business blog to bring everything together under the same umbrella. For personal blogs, I imagine that things will generally take shape with some theme or another as you write more and more. But especially for any blog that you intend to make money off of or generate some kind of revenue. We may have lost our signal for a second here. Hopefully our broadcast is uninterrupted. Any blog that you intend to make revenue out of or be a traffic source for your site needs to have a theme, needs to have relevant and consistent content throughout. And part 2 of VJ's question is about the titles for the blog. Now, titles work a little bit differently. If you're talking about just the name of the blog or even the name of the company, it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly what the company sells. I mean, if I asked you what Haagen-Dazs is, you know exactly what I'm talking about without me having to say Haagen-Dazs ice cream brand. You know, it's a made-up word, but we've come to associate the word Haagen-Dazs with ice cream. Same thing applies to your company name or to your blog name if you want to have a clever name for your blog. It doesn't have to be, you know, Joe's Car Widgets, but yes, that does contribute to SEO. So in the long run, if you have a growing business that's doing very well and you have a lot of content, a lot of customers, a lot of things directing people back to your site, then no, it's not as important if your name is exactly what you sell, the products or services, or is an exact reflection of what it is you do every day. However, the individual titles of the blog articles are very important. Those have got to include those key phrases and be relevant enough for people to see at a glance what it is you're talking about. That's the main reason. It's because when people are searching on Google, on Yahoo, on Bing, it's those titles that are going to come up in those search results. Those article titles are going to appear there and going to be the first thing people see when they decide, do I want to click on this or not? Is this going to answer my question or not? Is this going to be relevant enough to what I'm looking for? So just a little bit on blog titles and post titles there to address how that affects SEO. Well, that's going to cover it for today's combined show. Again, we're taking your questions, your actual questions about social media, and combining it with our social currency podcast, hopefully bringing you the most relevant topics we can in your search to make social media as successful for your business as possible. Again, you can always learn more at our blog, splashmediau.com/blog. Thanks for joining us.